you want to get ready for things before you actually do them. Um, that being said, you're not going to actually do the thing if you're planning for it all the time. So that planning thing can be while you're doing other things. Like if you're in the car and you got 30 minutes, listen to a YouTube video discussing a topic that you're interested in. You can learn that way. Um, you're not watching the video, you're listening to it, obviously. But a lot of videos you can actually listen to them. You don't have to see my face to get the message here. You can just learn stuff that way, and instead of just sitting in front of the screen and that's all you're doing, you can be doing 3 or 4 things. You can be doing housework while you learn how to work on live selling. You can work on you can learn how to do just get the fundamentals down of a ton of topics without actually sitting in front of that screen. And it sounds like a lot of YouTube's like this, a lot of playlists are like this, where you can just run right down the playlist and just learn about a topic. And obviously there's like so many different views on it, and you can shoot here and shoot there and see and make your own opinion on stuff. But while you're doing the one thing, you can do the other things. If you can have an earbud in your ear while you're at work, and keep concentration on what you're working on while listening to a topic on something else, there you go, like an audiobook, or if you want to listen to an audiobook through your ear while you're doing the other thing working. Maybe you got a mindless job, which I highly recommend. Maybe you're working on like an assembly line. You don't, if it's allowed, don't be breaking no rules. But if it's allowed, you can have that earbud in and be listening to a topic or listening to a book that might take you 8 or 10 hours to listen otherwise. And you can, listen to it at work over that 8 hour work day, and then listen to it on the car on the way in, and you almost got the whole thing covered, that way kind of deal. And you've learned a topic for that day that otherwise you would have spent 8 hours probably not listening to the whole thing on your own, kind of deal. And you can learn about so much stuff that way by just doing it in the background, learning that item in the background while you're doing other thing. Now your concentration isn't fully fixed on that thing. Somebody's going to say something about that, but you can get a majority of the gist of it and manage your time better that way by actually learning that thing on your terms instead of sitting down with a book. Sorry, guys. Sitting down with a book and reading for 8 hours, because no offense, but if you're reading a book versus listening to a video or listening to a podcast or listening to a audio file of some type, you can be doing other things while you're listening. But that's, you can learn so many things. Now, judge for yourself. There's a lot of catchy information out there, and not all of it's 100% accurate. You know how it is. People need ratings and all that, and views and all that, and whatever, but they need all that stuff. So you can kind of throw that out there, like take your own opinion on it and make your own view on it and get your own standpoint on the topic. Like I'm saying top in a wide range here. I'm not specializing, but I will specialize. Like eBay, you can look up eBay and find out so much information by just listening to videos about eBay stuff. You don't have to watch them. You have to see the person's face. You can have your phone in your pocket and a Bluetooth earpiece in your ear and be listening to the stuff. You can do keep up on all your topics and all that while you're doing your mindless job, if it's allowed. Stuff like that. You can be doing 3 or 4 things and listening to stuff and soaking up that information that way. We're in an area where you don't have to. You can run several devices at once and split your attention in all those different directions. And even if you get a lot of topics, even if you're only getting a percentage of that topic, only getting, retaining a percentage of that topic, if you do that on a daily basis and learn about that topic on a daily basis, just chip away at that topic little by little, you're going to be ahead of so many other people, versus just not doing it, versus just looking it up on your own and maybe reading a dozen books which are with outdated information because they're a couple years old. A lot of these audio files, a lot of these older books that are the good ones have been updated, and revised and updated for nowadays. So it'll be a book from like it'll be like a Warren Buffett. He made the old book, but that's been revised. So you got the revised, updated version of that, and all that. There's so many books that have been revised in the audio format where you can learn that through the revised version instead of the other ways, where you're actually reading it. But it's a 15-year-old book. This stuff might not even be relevant nowadays. You might need to go with somebody that's discussing about that and find a video or a topic or a podcast or whatever that's discussing old versus new, but still staying on that topic. You just gotta always be learning. Okay, always be learning. You can always have something. Almost always. I can't say always. You can always be learning about a topic and branch out that way, and that way you're actually learning all the time and putting yourself ahead of others who are just not doing that. If you're not learning, you're going. I don't want to say you're going to fall behind, but it's going to help. Okay? You're not going to fall behind because some people just do. Some people are just good out the gate. They're naturals at a topic, and they are. Some people can jump on like a live selling platform, just jump right into it, and they know what they're in. They just, I don't want to say lucky. I don't want to say they get lucky, but they just are naturally good at it. They know how to talk with people. They have the setup all set up out the gate. They get everything perfect out the gate, and they just did it naturally out the gate. What's the percentage of that? It's probably single digit. The other 90% are going to make mistakes. They're going to mess up. They're going to do this or that, the other thing, that if they learned or watched a video or looked at stuff beforehand, they might have eliminated those mistakes. Those mistakes can be costly mistakes. If you've never shipped a product before, you might mess up the shipping. If you mess up the shipping, ain't nobody going to be happy. Watch it. If you're going to do eBay, before you actually sell anything, watch a video on how to do the shipping. Even if it's right before you need to ship, watch a video on how to do the shipping. Learn how to do stuff. Because that'll say, well, if you don't have a printer, you do this. If you don't have this, you do this. If you don't have this, you do this. You got like 6 or 8 different options on eBay. And they even say that when you buy a label or make a label or whatever. They even say, if you don't have this, we can do this. We can do this. We can do this. We can do this. But, you want to have kind of be prepared before it, because if you just do, or this is dumb. I'm not doing it. Well, you've already sold that thing. You already got a contract with that buyer of that item. You know, you got to stick to what you said you're going to do. So, like, just a little bit of planning in your free time. I know nobody has free time, but it's a matter of always be doing multiple things at once. You know, if you're doing now, there's times where you do have to fully concentrate and kick everything out and get 100% in the zone on that one thing. But honestly, most of the time, you can be doing 2 or 3 things at once. You don't need to be 100% focused if you're on assembly line. Um, safety on an assembly line where nothing safe is an issue, or you're not going to hurt a finger or something like that. Don't sue me. You know, but like if you're on a mindless job where you're putting you're putting a plastic piece into another plastic piece and then it moves down the line, you know, you don't have to be thinking there. Stuff like that. Once you've done it 1,000 times, it's in your mind. Your mind already knows how to do that. You can probably do it with your eyes closed, and you can do it probably with your ears closed. So you can have something in that ear listening to something while you're doing that. I'm just using an assembly line because that's something where I was thinking of just a mindless job. If you're a cleaner of like a hotel or something, you're cleaning a hotel, you can have something in your ear, learning how to run a business while you're cleaning somebody else's business, you know, something like that. You don't have to have 100% concentration because you can run a vacuum and do bedding and all that without 100% concentration because you've done it a million times at that point. But meanwhile, you're learning how to run a business so that you have your main job with all your health care and all that stuff and your weekly standard paycheck, but then you're doing something on the side that's going to require you to learn those how to run business skills, you know, or how to manage this or how to do that, or how, you know, so many aspects of that which even a little bit of information is going to put you miles ahead of where you would be otherwise, of not knowing that and just, I'm going to start up a brick and mortar. If I mean, just start it. I'm going to start up a whatever store, and I don't know anything about running it, but I'm going to just do it. Good luck. You know, because if you go into that venture without, you're going to be a lot of costly surprises. But yeah, it's all kinds of fun. So the more you can learn by just learning while you're doing different things, watch a video on the topic. There's so much videos on YouTube, so many on several specialized topics. Everybody's sharing, and there's other platforms too. I'm not going to kick those out, but this is on YouTube, that's why I'm saying it. But there's so many topics on things where you can learn by just having an earbud in your ear while you're doing other things. And, you know, there it goes. Now, that's not saying you won't start a playlist and it's going to kick you over to a totally different unrelated topic. I like that. But like, that happens. So you can have your whole thing set up and just be going at it. Like an audiobook, throw an audiobook in your ear, or throw an audio book on and have an earbud in your ear while you're just driving. You know, now if you need 100% concentration, if you're driving through a snowstorm and all that, don't be doing that. You know, you don't want. But if you're just shooting on the highway on a sunny day and, you know, you're going 70 while everybody else is flying by you at 85, you know, you can do that. I don't want to say with your eyes closed. You can do that with like less attention on that. Now, there's areas you want to focus. But like, you can always have your earbud in to be listening and learning all the time. And that's really what you want to do. Always have that earbud in, always be listening to something. Do not have your phone on broadcasting what you're watching. That's annoying as heck. Don't be doing that. It's just annoying as heck. Don't be that person listening to your show with the audio on the bus, because it's just not good. Just get yourself an earbud so it's you and the audio, and you're good. Because I don't want to be listening to how to make my own screen print t-shirts and all that. I don't want to be learning about gardening or anything like that, or the specialized kind of snakes to avoid in Australia and all that. And no, I'm over here. I probably get an earbud in at that point, so I probably can't hear you anyway. But when you don't, you want to be respectful to others around you. So I'm going to throw that out there. But always be learning. Always be learning about topics, whether whatever the heck the source that is, you can always be learning about topics. You can have 4 or 5 windows open at once and be doing 3 or 4 things at once, or screens, or whatever, how the heck you want to do it. Or just buy a big old TV and have several screens on there all split up, and be doing this and that and the other thing, and you don't have to be doing one thing all the time. And if you're not doing one thing all the time, you can be learning other things while you're doing that. You can be working. I don't want to say that. While you're at your main job, and I do recommend everybody have a main job and a side hustle. I never recommend, or even a second job. Have a main job and a second job, a part-time job, or like a weekend job, or whatever. And that way you have at least 2 streams. Because if one stream, or let's go 2 strings. 2 strings, I don't want to call it streams. 2 strings of income. So if one of your strings gets cut, you got the other one as a backup. You're not falling to the floor with no net. You have that one string still holding you up until you can get a second string again. And the more strings you have, the better you are. Same with information. The more topics you have, the more topics you know, even a little bit of a topic, the more topics you know, the better you're going to be, because knowing a little bit about a topic will help you. Now, a little bit of topic doesn't make you an expert. Don't go down that run. You're not an expert. If you listen to gardening for 5 hours, you're not an expert in gardening. You've actually never picked up the thing. You've never actually got your hands dirty. You actually have to get your hands dirty to get some experience in gardening. But if you listen to this, you can kind of know, what's making your grass yellow in this area. What's the common fix of that? That might be an hour. You might learn, how do I fix my grass? Well, if it's doing this and doing this and doing this and doing this, you can kind of get a little bit of insight on that. And when it does happen, you can be, I know how to fix this. I just do this, and then you actually do the thing and get experience that way. And then you're a little bit more experienced in that topic. But you're far from an expert. You haven't been gardening for several years and haven't been doing this and don't run a business on landscaping and all that. But you know a little bit. And a little bit adds up. So I bet you I've probably said about 30 times now. I'm sorry about that. You guys know this is just me unedited and just shooting it with you. And if you get anything from this right here, if you get anything from this, all good. But always be learning, watching YouTube videos, watch a video on something. There's a video on everything nowadays. There's a topic on everything. There's a viewpoint on everything. take what you want from it, throw out the rest. You don't have to agree with everything. Take what you want, throw out the rest. Maybe look at 3 or 4 others, take what you want from that, throw out the rest. Now you got a multi-viewpoint on a topic, and you can take your own viewpoint of that, maybe do some real-world experience on that topic. You know, I don't know. I'm just going to leave it topic. I'm not going to specialize. But, you know, do some actual, get your hands dirty on that topic after you learn 3 or 4 things, and you're going to be ahead of at least yourself versus just going out the gate, fingers crossed. Am I going to be perfect out this thing out the gate? No, you're not. I almost guarantee you're not. I almost guarantee you're going to make mistakes out the gate if you haven't learned anything beforehand. If you have no experience, you're gonna make mistakes. Now, you're gonna make mistakes either way, but the less mistakes you can make by learning from others, by listening to others, by watching videos on topics on the others, you're going to be ahead versus thinking you're perfect out the gate and you're not going to mess up. Because no matter how prepared you are, until you actually do the thing, it doesn't matter. But being prepared, even a little bit, will maybe save you from making mistakes. I'll use eBay. You might make, I actually did this. I made and it's go way back. I got 100 or 200 listings made of CDs. Okay. I made because it wasn't nothing to take CD pictures. I think I even showed it in one of the early videos how I take pictures of CDs. But I did all that before I actually got on eBay. I was prepping all that stuff before I got on eBay. And I was prepping all this, and then I realized this is dumb. I'm only going to make $2 a CD, and then I got to be worried about returns and all this, and I threw away those listings because I didn't do the research beforehand. I didn't look at the stuff. It seems dumb, and it was. But I threw out those lists. I threw out 200 listings. I probably spent several days, if not weeks, making those listings. Now, did that help me get experience in photographing other things? Yes. But I threw them all out because I didn't do the initial research on the cost of goods, or not the cost of things are dang near free, but the cost of everything and the time invested in all this and what I'm competing with, At this point today, I'm competing with AI, which can go run it down a line, flip it over, and take pictures of the back, flip it over, run the case info, maybe even open the case, take pictures of the CD, take pictures of the back of the CD, and then kick it out. Maybe even not that. So and that can probably all happen within about 8 seconds. And you're competing with that in media and CDs and other media. You're competing with a machine. Basically, they can put it on a line. It can go click, 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 and throw it in an inventory box. And this is 30,702. And there you go. Now they know when they sell it to grab 30,702. And that might even be a robot doing that, where it does that and it puts it in a box and it seals it up and it kicks it out. And there you go. You got a pile of hopefully boxes. I would hate if I got a poly bag with a CD inside, because I wouldn't be happy if I got a poly bag with a CD inside, and a case all cracked to crap. But there you go. But so you're competing with that, and starting out, I didn't know that, so I took all those listings and I checked them all because it wasn't worth the $2. The risk wasn't worth the $2 to learn. That's a numbers game, and I didn't like the numbers, and I didn't like the percentage, and I didn't like the risk. So those got thrown out. That being said, I know I wasted at least 2 or 3 weeks doing that, all those 200 listings, because I was learning along the way. And it's great to kick out like 30 listings in a day, but if you're doing those listings wrong or those listings aren't relevant, whatever, maybe you took pictures of 100 pants. Okay? Maybe you took pictures of 100 pants, but all you showed was the front of those pants. That's it. That's the only listing. That's the only thing you got. And then all you say is Levi's 501. One picture of the pants. Done. Make the listing. Good. You're good. You're good, right? And maybe you've done like 200 like that. Like all you did was the front of the pants and the brand name, and you just made a title with 30 by 32 Levi's 501s. One picture of the pants, $20. $8 shipping. That's it. That's how you did. You might have some issues, and you might need to go back and redo all those listings because you didn't watch a simple video that showed you how to photograph and what to photograph and what to learn. And you don't even need video. You can use AI for all this stuff. You can talk that too. You can talk with a chat or a GTP. You can talk with something, maybe make an agent. Tell me how to learn this stuff. Only tell me the answers in speech. And you can go back and forth. You can talk with the thing and learn about a topic and talk with the thing and learn about a topic and just go back and forth and learn about all of that. Now, once again, if you're allowed, if it's legal and all that stuff, don't sue me. Only if it's allowed and legal and all that. Don't be texting stuff while you're driving and all that. You know how it is. Just covering my butt. But like, always be learning about topics. Because if you even know a little bit, like the pants example, if they even watch one video of this is how you take pants. I'll throw it out there. You do the front, you do the back, you do any flaws, you do the tags, you do the inseam, you do the outseam, you do the waist. I'm sure I'm forgetting something. Just out the gate. But if you have those simple photos out the gate, there you go. You're gonna be ahead, and even with those photos, the buyer's gonna know, okay, it's this. Even though the tag says it's a 32, it's actually like a 30, because I don't know, modern measurements. Maybe it's something vintage, and even though it says 30, I'll go back. Even though it says 30-inch waist, it's actually more like a 28 because they're a skinny jean or a different kind of style, or who the heck knows. I ain't going into it. But you can tell from that single photo, they'll be able to tell, okay, these actually say 30, but they're actually not, my butt's not going to fit into them, kind of deal. Even though they say 30, they're actually a 28, and I can't fit into a 28, kind of deal. I can fit into a 30, but I can't fit into a 28. Looking at these photos, I can't get my butt in those jeans. I'm not going to buy them, or the other way around. Somebody looks at like a 34 and it's actually a 30 because it same deal. Maybe it shrunk and maybe this and maybe that. I'm not going down it, but it's actually a 30 instead of a 34. That's actually whatever. Let's just go with it. It's a 30 instead of a 34. Yeah. So knowing watching a video on just a simple thing about jeans, or talking with AI about jeans and how do I do this, you're going to know and make the proper listings and save the time and not have to go back and fix those or delete those or lose that, or worst case, you send those out with that single photo and get that return. You get that return where you said it was a 30, You know, you said it was a 30. My butt can't fit in these. I fit in 30 all day long. This is a 28. And then they show you a picture of the measurement of the waist. And yes, sure enough, the measurement of the waist is a 28. The measurement that you didn't photograph. Lesson learned. Take the return. It's your fault. Or give them, or go the other way, and if it doesn't make sense, you know, if it's like a $5 item and it's going to cost you $8 to ship it back, maybe you don't get the item back. You know, you got to make the call here. Either way, you're learning a lesson. You know, and it's a costly lesson. It's a lesson you didn't have to learn if you simply would have watched. If you simply would have done just a little bit of research on the topic beforehand. And after you learn that lesson 2 or 3 times, maybe you're going to go back and the rest of those 100 listings, you're going to re-edit and put the time in that you should have put in the time beforehand. And that might require, I know it does with me, I would have to open up boxes again and take all those things out and redo all that stuff. And I probably wouldn't be happy about it, you know? But there you go. Way too long, once again, way too long of a topic. But there you go. A little bit, always be learning about stuff. Whether that's watching videos, whether that's some videos you're going to have to watch, you know? Whether it's watching videos, but a majority of them, you can just be listening to the stuff. A lot of the stuff they don't need to actually watch it. Even though it might be on a video platform, a lot of them you don't have to watch. Like a podcast, start on, do that. Maybe the podcaster will hold something up, but for the most part, it's meant to be listened to. So there you go, guys. Thank you.